Alright, so we are getting there. I want to start with the bottom with the scrolling animation before we do the top. And basically what we're going to do is create a class called animate. And we're going to use a little bit of jQuery to make it so that when we scroll down, when the scroll axis is at a certain point, say 200, then we want to add the class animate to these images. Okay, and that animate class is going to be our CSS animation. So let's create that now. So in our CSS file, I'm just going to go down at the bottom here and say class animate, and we're going to do a transition. Okay, transition 1 second, and we're going to say ease in out. Alright, you want to make sure that you add your vendor prefixes as well. Now this ease in out, this has to do with the transition timing function. Alright, so it could be ease, it could be linear, it could be ease in, ease out, or ease in out. Alright, so ease in out basically specifies a transition effect with a slow start and a slow end. Alright, you can make it so that it starts slow and gets faster at the end, or faster and then slower, but we're just going to do a slow start and slow end to kind of have it basically what it says, ease in and out. Alright, so next we want to set the animation fill mode. Alright, so basically which direction it should move in. Not just direction, but basically if it's going to move and stay there, or if it's going to move and move back. So it could be forwards, backwards, or both. I think there's some other values as well. So let's start with animation fill mode forwards, and we want our prefixes as well. Alright, and then the last thing we want to do is the duration. Alright, so we're going to say animation duration, we'll say 1s. Okay, so that's our animation class, or animate class. Next we want to specify the animate class for each of our individual images. Alright, so let's see. Now the desktop isn't going to animate, so we're not going to do that. So we need to do image with the ID of laptop.animate. Alright, and then from here is where we're going to add our transform property, and we're going to set it to translate, and then the length that we want to move it, which will be 12 EM 0. Alright, so since this here is a positive value, it's going to move to the right, because we want the laptop to move to the right. The mobile will be a negative value. Let's add our prefixes. This prefix thing can really be a pain, so one of the best reasons to use something like Sass or Less or any CSS compiler is you can create mix-ins where you don't have to actually manually add these every single time you use a CSS3 property. Alright, so that's the laptop. So now we need the mobile. Okay, so mobile is going to go -8m. Okay, so that's really it for the CSS animation. Now we just need to apply it with jQuery, because right now nothing's going to happen. Alright, so what we need to do is we'll go to our index file, and I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to go before, actually I'll just go after the Bootstrap JavaScript file. And we're going to add some script tags. Okay, and we're going to use jQuery. So basically we're going to say when the document is ready, we'll run a function. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the window object and the scroll property. So scroll, and then we're going to run a function. So we're basically saying when the window scrolls. So when you move the little scroll on your browser or your mouse wheel, then this is going to happen. Okay, we're going to set a variable to y, and we're going to set it to this. Remember, we've used this keyword in jQuery in earlier chapters. It basically just means the object you're dealing with. In this case is going to be the window. Okay, so the browser window. And we're going to say this dot scroll top. Alright, and then we're going to do a little condition here. So we'll say if y is greater than or equal to 200. Basically we're saying if the y-axis, which is up and down, if you scroll down 200 pixels or more, then this is going to happen. Okay, because that's what we want to do. When we get to around 200 pixels, we want the animation to set off. Okay, if we set it off right away, then it's going to happen before we even get there. So we need some kind of timer, and that's not a timer, but just something to let it know when to start the scroll, when to start the animation. Alright, so what we're going to do is just add the class animate to our objects, to our images. Alright, so the first one will be the ID laptop. Okay, so we'll grab that and we're going to say add class, and the class that we want to add is animate. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for mobile. Alright, so I also want it to animate back, which basically it's going to remove the animate class when we get back up to 200 or less. Okay, I wasn't originally going to do that, but I figured maybe I should, just so we can keep demonstrating the animation without reloading. Alright, so we're going to say if y is less than 200, I'm going to copy this, then we're going to remove the class. Alright, so let's give that a shot. We may have some errors. No, it's working. Alright, so that's good. So you can see why we needed to have the images start spaced out, because if we had them set like this initially, then they just move in further and hit each other. So we don't want that. So this is good. Alright, so the last thing we want to do is have this image just slide on in when the page loads. Alright, and that's going to be really easy. So we just need to go to our style sheet, and I'm going to give that image an ID. So let's go up to, where is it? Okay, this iMac here. Let's give it, I'm going to give it an ID of main, because it's the main image. Alright, and then here basically I'm going to copy this and change this to main. Now before we actually do our animation here, we need to make sure that the templates start when we load it, that this image is way over here, so that when it does load, it can slide in, because we can't start it from here or it's just going to go over here. Alright, so what we need to do is set some style up here. Actually, we'll just do it. Where's the showcase div? Alright, so this right here, section showcase image. Alright, so what I'm going to do is set a margin right to negative 500 pixels, and I want to position it relative. Alright, so now, well, it should be out of sight. Section showcase image. Actually, I might need to float. Let's float it to the right. There we go. So the image is way over here, out of sight. So now we can do the animation. Let's go back down to image main animate and change this to negative 40. Alright, and then all we need to do now is initialize it through jQuery. We're going to add the animate class. So go down and actually I'm just going to grab this. Now we don't want this to happen when we scroll, so we're just going to put it up at the top here because it's just going to happen when the page loads. So we'll say main add class animate. Alright, so save that. And there it is. Alright, so both animations are now working. Now the last thing we need to do is make it responsive, which a lot of it already is because Bootstrap is basically a responsive framework. Alright, so when we get to about tablet size, you can see that this doesn't look very good. Okay, so we need to do something about that. And also the menu icon isn't visible. It is there. Okay, it's working fine, but the icon isn't showing. And I think the reason for that is that we need the navbar default class. Alright, basically the div class navbar, we have navbar fixed top. This should also have navbar default, so we can add that style so it'll show that icon. Alright, so now we have the icon. Okay, so this image is fine, scrolls into place. So what we need to do is add a couple media queries for this part. Alright, so in our style sheet, down way at the bottom, I'm going to set a media query for basically tablet size devices. So media, and we're going to say minimum width 601 pixels. And the reason I'm doing a minimum width is because for anything under 600, I'm going to stop the animation. Alright, so this is going to be for tablets. For smartphones, we're just going to have just the desktop static image. Alright, so minimum width 601 pixels, and we're going to say and max width is going to be 960 pixels. Okay, and what we're going to do is basically just change the sizes of the images so that they can animate correctly. So we're going to I'm going to copy this, Okay, basically for the desktop, I'm going to change this to 293. For the laptop, all we need is the width. We can get rid of this. For the laptop, we're going to do 235. And then for mobile, we're going to do 148. Okay, we'll save that. Okay, make sure we're in tablet view. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so if we go back down, now we're in mobile view, basically. So we want to get rid of the two images. We just want the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to copy this whole media query and take out this, and I'm going to say max width 600. And basically the desktop, we're going to change that size to 263. Alright, and we're also, actually that's good for that. And then for the laptop and mobile, we're going to display none. Okay, so now if we reload, alright, so now we have just a nice looking static section. And one more thing, this looks kind of weird, so I'm just going to, let's see, I'm actually going to create another media query, max width 768. So basically it will be tablet and down. Okay, anything that's less than 768. And I'll put that at the bottom. So max width 768. And basically I'm going to take my H1. Okay, for the H1 I'm going to set the font size to 35 pixels, and I want to align it to the center. And then H2, I'm going to say font size 25. Same thing, we want to align it to the center. And display it as a block. And line height will be 1.5 em. And then finally the content icon. Alright, you can see that when it's in mobile view, this doesn't look very good. I'm just going to add some margin to these. Okay, so content icons, margin top 20 pixels. Okay, so that should fix this stuff. Oh yeah, that's right, I have to use important for these in order for them to overwrite. Okay, so important. Okay, good. Alright. Okay, that's still not looking how I want it to. And I don't think it's displaying block for the H2. Oh, and I have a quote here, that's why. There we go. Alright, so that looks much better. What happened to the margin now? Content icons, margin top. Huh. 30. Oh, I want to do content icons I, not just the whole block itself, but the actual icons. There we go. Alright, footer looks good, menu works. What's going on here? Looks like I have something going on with my nav bar. Oh, you know what? It's because we added that nav bar default. I think I can get rid of this. Nope. Alright, so you know what? I'm going to copy this here. Set background none. Alright, so that's good, but the link is now, it's not white. Color. There we go. Alright. Alright, so that's it. We now have a nice responsive, semi-animated Bootstrap template.